The basketball world watched in disbelief as a bombshell report from Saudi Arabia's new professional league dropped a number so staggering it silenced even the loudest critics. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom barely 2 years into her professional career, had been valued at over 10 times the worth of any other WNBA player, including the reigning MVP herself, A'ja Wilson. That figure, hovering around $50 million per season, wasn't just a paycheck, it was a declaration that the balance of power in women's basketball had shifted, possibly for good. For A'ja Wilson, a player who's built her name on championships, consistency, and dominance, that report wasn't just shocking. It was personal. Her reaction came swiftly, cloaked in subtlety but soaked in meaning. "What's delayed isn't denied," she wrote online. A message so simple, yet so heavy, that it set the internet ablaze. Fans and analysts knew exactly who she was talking about. The timing of her post was perfect and painful. Nike had just confirmed Caitlin Clark's record-breaking $28 million deal, the richest endorsement contract in women's basketball history. But strangely, the spotlight dimmed almost immediately. There were no ads, no commercials, no rollout, and no signature shoe. Just silence. That silence became a breeding ground for conspiracy theories. Whispers began to circulate that Nike, terrified of backlash, was deliberately delaying Clark's shoe launch to avoid the optics of giving a white sophomore star her own line before the league's dominant black MVP. Insiders claimed Nike planned to hold Clark's shoe release until 2026, hoping to buy time to navigate the politics of race, recognition, and hierarchy. In trying to please everyone, they had pleased no one. Wilson's supporters felt she was disrespected. Clark's fans accused Nike of cowardice, and the brand's image suffered under the weight of a scandal they created themselves. Behind the scenes, things were far more complex than anyone knew. Wilson's own signature shoe, the A1, had quietly been in development for nearly 2 years under a strict non-disclosure agreement. The deal had been done long before Clark's rise, but because of the secrecy, the narrative had gotten away from Nike. While fans were rallying online in outrage, accusing the company of ignoring Wilson, she already had the deal locked in. When the truth came out, it didn't soothe tensions, it deepened them. The entire episode proved how fragile public perception could be and how easily misinformation could turn admiration into animosity. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's star was ascending beyond the reach of the WNBA's own orbit. Her mere presence in a game could fill arenas, spike ratings, and double franchise valuations. The Indiana Fever, once one of the least valuable teams in the league, had skyrocketed from a $90 million valuation to over $340 million in less than 2 seasons, purely off her impact. Her televised games averaged over 1 million viewers, a number previously unthinkable for women's basketball. Overseas markets were clamoring for her attention, and European and Middle Eastern leagues were prepared to offer sums so astronomical they could bankrupt the WNBA if they even tried to compete. Saudi officials reportedly floated contracts north of $100 million, and privately hinted they'd pay even more. In that global context, Wilson's frustration began to look less like jealousy and more like fear. Fear of what happens when your sport becomes dependent on one superstar to survive. Because without Clark, the numbers don't lie. Attendance plummets, sponsorships falter, and television deals lose their leverage. Even the WNBA Finals, once a marquee event, struggled to fill seats. Tickets that once cost hundreds of dollars were now going for as little as $6. The Las Vegas Aces, led by Wilson herself, were chasing another championship, but the buzz was gone. The league's brightest star was shining in an empty arena. That contrast, between winning games and winning hearts, is what's tearing women's basketball apart. Wilson is the embodiment of the grind, the player who worked her way up through dominance and discipline. Clark, on the other hand, is a phenomenon, a media magnet whose every move turns into a viral moment. One built the foundation, the other became the skyscraper everyone wants to see. And for the first time, those two forces are colliding in real time, forcing the WNBA to answer a question it's avoided for years. What matters more, excellence or influence? Leaked internal emails from the WNBA office revealed how desperate the situation had become. Executives were openly discussing ways to retain star power and prevent foreign poaching. One line reportedly read, "Losing Clark would set us back 20 years. That wasn't just exaggeration. Clark had become the league's lifeline, its connection to mainstream visibility. Every brand deal, every TV rating, every headline revolved around her. Without her, the WNBA risked fading back into obscurity. It wasn't fair to Wilson, but it was the brutal reality of modern sports. The Saudi offer loomed like a sword over the league's future. Could they really stop Clark from walking away if she was offered generational wealth overseas? Could anyone blame her if she took it? The answer, for most fans, was no. But for the WNBA, her departure would be catastrophic. The league's financial structure, with a maximum salary of just $250,000, looked laughable next to global offers in the tens of millions. Even with sponsorships and bonuses, no player in WNBA history had come close to that kind of payday. The economic gap wasn't just wide, it was unbridgeable. A'ja Wilson voiced what many veterans were feeling. In a recent interview, she said quietly, "I've worked my whole life for this, and it feels like none of it matters." That line hit harder than any headline because it exposed an uncomfortable truth. In the era of viral fame, hard work and legacy don't always translate into value. Marketability does. Wilson's skill might be generational, but Clark's influence is cultural. She's not just a player, she's a movement. Nike's handling of both stars only made things worse. By trying to balance two icons in one sport, the company ended up fueling a narrative of division. To the public, Wilson became the overlooked veteran, Clark the privileged newcomer. Both women deserved better, but instead of celebration, they became pawns in a corporate tug-of-war over optics and profit. In trying to avoid controversy, Nike had manufactured it. And in doing so, they highlighted how unprepared even the biggest brands were for this new era. An era where one tweet, one photo, or one rumor could ignite a media wildfire. But peel back the drama, and the story becomes something deeper. This was never really A'ja versus Caitlyn. It was about what happens when a league finally finds its superstar, and realizes it might not be ready for her. For decades, the WNBA dreamed of a player who could command global attention, fill arenas, and draw investment. They finally found her in Caitlin Clark. But now, that dream threatens to become a nightmare, because the same force that built the league's momentum could be the one that breaks it apart. Cities now fight to host Clark's games, knowing her presence brings millions in economic activity. Hotels fill, restaurants thrive, and local businesses see record profits every time she steps on the court. One economist estimated that a single Caitlin Clark game generates between $3 to $5 million in local revenue, numbers previously reserved for NBA superstars. The WNBA simply can't afford to lose that kind of gravity. But keeping her means rewriting the rules of the game, literally and financially. As tensions rise, the league faces a future defined by impossible choices. Do they build everything around Clark and risk alienating their veteran stars? Or do they try to protect the traditional structure, even if it means losing their biggest attraction? A'ja Wilson's legacy now hangs in that balance. History will always remember her as one of the greatest to ever play, but whether anyone will still be watching when she lifts her next trophy is a question no one can answer. The next chapter of this saga won't just shape two careers. It will define the future of women's sports. The Saudi League is waiting, the fans are watching, and the WNBA is running out of time. If they can't find a way to keep both excellence and stardom under one roof, they might lose everything to the very forces they helped create.